Welcome to the Oxford Clay Pottery Podcast. I'm Catherine Tomlinson and I started an eco conscious pottery company called Oxford Clay. Now, Oxford Clay, I don't just make pottery, I also make books and courses for other potters who want to be more environmentally friendly in their pottery making. And that's what this podcast is all about. And I can't wait to get started. Let's go. Hello, welcome back to the Oxford Clay Pottery Podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Tomlinson. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about 5 ways to make your kiln firings more efficient. I have an electric kiln in my pottery studio, and it's probably the thing that is like kind of, I guess, like the least environmentally friendly aspect of my pottery practice because it is using so much energy. And I have quite a good, efficient electric kiln. It's a 60-litre kiln. It's very well insulated. It's kind of like a new kiln. I got it when I bought it. I wanted a kiln that was like the most energy efficient. So I looked specifically for that, the most energy efficient kiln I could find. Um, and my kiln still does use quite a lot of electricity. So for just to give you an example, so for a bisque firing, so it's 60 litres of sort of space inside the kiln, and it that takes 19 kilowatt hours worth of electricity to power, like all the way up. And then the kind of the cooling state, well, there's a kind of stage where it's held at the top at the very highest temperature, and then there's the cooling stage, which it doesn't use any energy for, because my kiln just kind of naturally cools itself down. But some kilns do use energy as well on the way down, kind of making sure that they cool slowly. But mine's very well insulated and it just kind of cools of its own accord. So basically the energy for my kiln is taken up with like getting to those high temperatures and then holding it there in the soak, and then that's where the energy is going basically. And then so it's 19 kilowatt hours for a bisque firing, and then it's about 40 kilowatt hours for a stoneware glaze firing. So yeah, quite a lot of electricity is used in my pottery studio in that way. I do use renewable energy, got a renewable energy tariff for the pottery studio. But yeah, I thought it'd be a really good episode to do because it's like, any ways we can be reducing that really big part, like way that energy is used in the pottery studio, would be really good. So these are the things that I've been thinking about in my own pottery making practice, and yeah, I thought it'd be like a good episode to like share them with you. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind when I think about how can we make kiln firings more efficient is that we can make sure that the kiln is fully packed basically before we fire it. So this can be a bit like a bit tricky if you're not making that much, or if you don't have like, I don't know, if you're kind of like you haven't got your sort of flow of making, maybe like you're waiting on a specific thing and you need to fire that, or like you're kind of like like you want to produce like, yeah, a specific, say you like, I guess if you've been like commissioned to make something or something, and then you need that fired, but you haven't made enough other things, and then like but you need your commission like out there and done, then this can be really tricky. So you basically kind of need a, I guess, like a constant flow of kind of pottery to fill up your kiln, and then to make sure it's full when you fire. So yeah, this can be like sort of trickier than it sounds, but that's what I try and do. I basically try and only fire when I've got like a full kiln's worth to fire. So with bisque, like you can things can touch each other, like it's not going to stick to each other, in that firing. So in that respect, you can kind of like pack it quite a lot. You don't want things to be really kind of squashing each other because you don't want to be putting pressure during that firing on the things. But you can sit things inside each other, stack things up a little bit, and that's a really good way of like making that bisque firing more energy efficient. Things can touch each other, it's fine, you can make that quite a full firing. But with a glaze firing, obviously, like me making sure the bottom is totally clean of glaze, but as well, nothing can touch each other because the glaze will melt and then it will like stick to each other. So they can be a bit more tricky to kind of organize and like make them as full as possible. But yeah, so tip number two for ways to make your kiln firings more efficient is that you can get really good specific kiln furniture to kind of fit the kind of pieces that you're making. So for example, the kiln I've got is like a round kiln, and I've got like shelves that are round. Like a full shelf is like a circle basically. But say if I wanted to fire something like quite tall, didn't want to, and I've got loads of things which are much shorter, that's going to be a kind of wasted space in essence. Like the because I'll have to have like the space for the tall thing and then the thing for the smaller things, all that space around it, in the above it, that's going to be kind of like, I guess, like wasted in the kiln. So a really good way around this is to get appropriate kind of kiln furniture to be able to fit things around each other as much as possible. So you can actually get like half shelves, and you get lots of different the kiln so like a semicircle shelf, and so you can basically you can maybe do two layers in the space, then you've got the tall item. You could do like the half shelf, and then it means that you're like, you can use that space above the smaller items, and that's much more efficient. So you can also get like loads of different size of kiln props. So kiln props are things that like um, you stack the shelves on, and they come in loads of different sizes. So a really good idea is to have like enough different sizes so that you can really work with like the things you're making, and then like you can kind of stack up little bits, and then they come in like they come in you can get ones that are even kind of like, I think they come in like inches and stuff. But say, for example, like maybe 3 centimeters high, you can get ones that are like little increments of that. So you can stack them up and get like a really efficient way of like making sure the shelves are like as close to the thing as as your thing that you're firing as possible. Like you don't want to be obviously like touching it. You want like a little gap above it, but you don't have like loads and loads of wasted space sort of like above all your items and stuff. I'm just interrupting this episode to tell you about a totally free guide I've made just for you on electric kiln firing. So, if you're not sure what temperatures you should use, what kiln schedule you should use for a bisque firing and also a stoneware glaze firing, this guide is for you, and it will tell you everything you need to know. And it's available in the show notes. Let's get on with the episode. So yeah, so that's the second tip, is like have a kind of good range of kiln furniture. That means that you can really um like you make efficient use of the space inside the kiln. And then this comes on to the third point, which is quite similar, which is like, think about, well, this is what I do in my pottery. I basically think about the way those items are going to like tessellate in the kiln. So I I've spoken about this on the podcast before, but basically I used to make these really big kind of bowls, but they had like a lot of space around them, and they were kind of like they would often like warp and stuff, and so I would like lose some after after firing stuff. I thought this is not efficient, like so they were quite flat, but they were quite big, so that I could only really get like maybe two or three on a kiln shelf. And what I do now is I make much kind of smaller items, which are much better at like tessellating together in the kiln. So it means I can always like say like fit like quite a few items on a shelf, and then I'll have like another kind of thing which is a slightly different shape which I can maybe put in between it. So I think about the ways that the things I'm making are like tessellating as a kind of whole inside that space to try and make the maximum use of the space inside the kiln. Yeah, because obviously, you don't want to be necessarily making things just so they tessellate in a kiln, but it is like a really good thing to think about in terms of like we've done, we've spoken about design for the environment on the podcast before, and that's one of the ways you can really design for the environment. You're sort of building the environmental impact of something intrinsically into the design of that product. And if you've got you're not making massive bowls with loads of wasted space, that's great. That's good. That's designing for the environment. So okay, so that's number three. And then okay, so this seems really weird to say, like the point number four, but and seems really converse to what I've just been talking about. But another thing I thought would be really good to mention is like not to overpack your kiln. So like we said to you, make sure it's fully packed, no wasted space, and then now it's like don't overpack it. But what I found, so I've been doing like firings for quite a while, and um I really, really wanted to maximize the use of space. This was at the top of my mind. I was like, right, let's maximize the space. And there was this one firing I did where basically I had like lots of coasters. They're quite flat. Obviously they're flat. And then like I have like, and I put like quite a lot of layers of those at the bottom of the kiln. So maybe say like 3 layers of coasters or something. And I thought that's great. We've like not taken up that much space, and like it's gonna be brilliant. I've got these coasters, and then they're gonna like yeah gonna it's so efficient like all the things they've packed in the kiln. And then what happened was that particular kiln firing found it really difficult to get up to temperature. Um and there's been times when I've sort of packed a lot of things around the kind of temperature sensor in the pottery kiln, and like I don't know, part of me is just thinking, is it being able to sense the right temperature, or is there sort of too much stuff around it, or too much stuff in the bottom of the kiln, sort of that's really difficult for that kiln to heat up, and it's taking a lot of energy. Obviously, like if you've got more stuff in the kiln, it's going to take more energy, but there was just something about the fact that I packed it really tightly at the bottom that meant that it took loads of energy. So I record all the different kiln firings, all the different energy used in each kiln firing. And that one I can see actually took 45.2 kilowatt hours. So yeah, it was like, around 5 kilowatt hours, like more than it normally does, which is a lot, because that's kind of, that's a quarter of a whole bisque firing basically of extra energy used. And I think it was due to sort of overpacking it. So yeah, and point number four, don't overpack your kiln. Just kind of make sure, yeah, just kind of pack it naturally, but don't waste the space basically inside it. Okay, and then point number five, ways to make your kiln firing more efficient is you can actually completely eliminate a bisque firing from your pottery practice. So the reason potters bisque fire it is just like a much, much more robust form of clay. So like but you can actually fire um, clay straight up to glaze firing temperatures, and this works well with like stoneware clay. You're basically taking it from the dry clay, from bone dry clay, glazing it at that stage very carefully so it doesn't disintegrate, because clay really wants to disintegrate at the bone dry stage. But then you're literally, and obviously making sure there's nothing on the bottom, just like you would normally with a normal bisque, like glazed bisqueware piece. And then you're just literally firing it straight up to stoneware temperatures, to stoneware glaze temperatures. And so I have experimented with this actually in my own pottery, and I have found that some glazes work better than others. So you sorry, should have had that ready for you to show you, but now I've got it. If you wanted some recipes that do work with this technique, the raw glazing technique, there's some in eco-conscious pottery glazing, which is available from that book, which is available from the Oxford Clay website or Amazon as well. And what I did in this book is that every recipe I tested it with the raw glaze technique as well. So I literally just painted it onto bone dry greenware, and I also painted it onto bisqueware. And then if where the pot, like you couldn't tell which one was which, I thought, oh, the raw glazing technique works for that particular glaze. So it doesn't work for every glaze, and that's what I found. It didn't work for every glaze, but the ones that it did work for, I've basically like done a little tick box on here, like on in the book, basically saying like suitable for raw glazing. So if you wanted to try that technique, but that is a really cool technique because you basically are getting rid of that bisque firing completely. The only thing I'd say is that it is like it's sort of a slightly different way that like so basically been trying to do it in my pottery recently like a bit more, and I've just found that like the way I learned pottery originally, say for example, you get glazing tongs and you get your bisque fired pot and you just dip it in the glaze, and it's actually it's like a different way of glazing. You got to be like so gentle, um, and just like when you're wiping the glaze off the bottom of the pot, you're wiping that pot away. It's kind of like thinking about it's like a different thing. It's just like because it's so much less robust. It's like a different way of like sort of handling pottery and stuff, but it does work and it is something if you're really committed to like reducing your energy consumption in your pottery practice, then yeah, it's something you can definitely try. Yeah, okay. So, oh, it's been so nice talking to you about some different ways to reduce, to make your kiln firings more efficient. So, number one, fire a full kiln where possible. Number two, don't overfill the kiln. What? Um, Number three, you can tessellate items to fit together, so there's less open space. Number four, you can use the perfect kiln furniture to do that really, really well. And number five, try raw glazing, which will make it more efficient in general, your pottery more efficient because it will just eliminate that bisque firing in your pottery. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Oxoclave Pottery Podcast. It's been really fantastic being here with you, talking to you about kiln firings. And until then, wishing you till the next episode, wishing you very, very happy potting, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me on that episode. And if you want to find out more about eco-friendly pottery, head over to the Octoclay website, which is www.oxfordclay.co.uk. Can't wait to see you there.